Byrd.
And this is Rusty Byrd. It's the Kirk and Byrd Show. And we are blessed to have with us today Chris Anderson. So Chris is the voice of the University of Richmond football team when they're on TV and maybe the radio, I know. But he's a former player for the University of Richmond. He's all conference and he was a captain there. Played high school ball when he moved from Ohio. He played at Byrd, and he's been on the coaching staff at Highland Springs. And the most important and the coolest thing about him is he is my fraternity brother, not just Alpha Phi Alpha, but Theta Death Row Spring 97. Chris Anderson, welcome to the show, frat.
Oh man, glad to be here. I'm glad I finally made the cut. I finally got the call, Rusty. Just glad to be here, man. Ready to have some fun. And yeah, kind of go from there, man. So whatever you got for me, I'll speak on it, and just like I do on TV, I act like I know what I'm talking about, and we'll roll.
There you go. That's what you do. That's what you do.
That's what we do. We fake it till we make it, and we learn. So, hey, Chris, thank you for coming on. Chris and I were talking before we went on, so he wanted to clarify because I said the same thing. He's the color commentator, and then Bob is the Bob. What's Bob's last name?
He's the
play-by-play. Bob Black is the voice of.
Okay.
So you've got a school that's just an unbelievable gem in Virginia. It's a private school, great football program, great tradition, great basketball program, beautiful campus, and in the Richmond area, you've got a long background, as Rusty outlined, in the Richmond area. But we're happy to have you on. We just want to ask people if they get a quick chance to subscribe to us, and I know that we're going to cover a number of things, and we all have perspectives on HBCU because I grew up in Hampton, near Norfolk State, and Union, and Virginia
Hampton.
State.
You live right across the street from Hampton. You grew up on Hampton campus.
So we're gonna talk a little bit about FCS, the playoffs, high school, HBCU. But Rusty, why don't we get started off? Chris, why don't you just give us? We talked a little bit, but set you up. But give us a brief bio. You're in Richmond now. And you're color commentator for Richmond. You got a career going, and then we can get into some of the things that introduce you to the people watching. So go ahead, Chris, give us a quick bio.
So I actually live in Chesapeake, Virginia right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've been here last couple of years, so I'm learning. That 757 football is, they know how to do it down here. So learning, getting acclimated to that. My son he'll be going to Grassfield next year.
Okay.
Yeah, my daughter is a sophomore at the University of Richmond. So got me feeling old and got me working hard.
Yeah.
Costs a little bit of money.
Yeah, a little bit.
So my background, kind of born in Ohio, spent some time in North Carolina. We went back to Dayton, Ohio, graduated. I was in Dayton, Ohio. We moved down. My dad got a job down in Richmond, Virginia. My junior year, so we moved my junior year, and I was a good player. Everything was rolling for me. My dad got a really good job down here in Richmond, Virginia, so it brought me down here to play with LC Byrd. 93, we had a great squad. Lost in the playoffs, and then I think like Ken Oxendine and over at Thomasdale, they went on and lost like Annandale in the state championship that year. And then for my senior year, I actually went back to Ohio. I've been playing ball there. My school, went to a good school, a good program. Academically was strong. Athletically, we were good in football. So, but when I sent my video out, sent my tape out, I still sent it to schools. Back then we didn't have all the stuff online. I'm still sending
no huddle.
So I sent my tape down to schools down in the area. Got a call from University of Richmond. The head coach at the time was Jim Reed. Got Joe Cullen, who was a defense coordinator for Jacksonville last year. Now he's a defensive line coach at Kansas City. He called me, said, "We like what you do." And I looked at a couple other schools, but academically and athletically, U of R was where I wanted to be. Had a great career, played 4 years. I finished up and, played a little bit, man. I think I was in Canada long enough to, tie my shoes, and I was back. Played a little arena ball, and then got right into coaching, man. Got right into coaching high school. Took me to Highland Springs, and I spent about, I think I coached there for 4 or 5 years, and I actually taught for 7 8 years. And then I moved from there. Wife got pregnant, man, and education is great. I love it. But we had all those degrees on the wall, man. Somebody had to make some money. She looked at me. I looked at her, made some calls, and I found myself in medical sales. And so I'm there now, medical devices, surgical sales. So I'm in the OR, I'm in the surgery center with doctors. And if I'm not there, man, I'm kind of entrenched in football, any and everything football, man. If it's college, if it's FBS, FCS, high school, love basketball too. So I just come from a sports family, man. So anytime I can get around it, I'll do it. And if they're gonna let me talk about it, I'm gonna take the opportunity.
Oh yeah. So look, I want to go back just a little bit. So when you were coaching at Highland Springs, was Lauren Johnson the head coach then?
No, this is well before Lauren Johnson.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, this was the Scott Burton days. Actually, it was I guess Lauren came right after Scott Burton. Scott Burton ended up leaving, taking a job in Georgia. Going down there, big time football. Obviously, down there you don't even have to teach. They're paying six figures just to coach. He took that opportunity, and I had stepped away from coaching, I think, a year or two before, because at that time I wasn't sure about principalship. But I'm telling you what, man, Lauren has come in and he's done just some amazing things, man. So
yeah.
Highland Springs it's got a long history. It's been a great program. I think we came in with Scott Burton. There was a couple down years. We came in, got us back on track, winning, competing. At that time, it was all about Verina, Michael Robinson.
Michael Robinson,
yeah. We were just, that was the giant I had to deal with. Right out of school, I got thrown in the defense coordinator position. And I got that dude coming as a quarterback. So, but got us back on track, man. We were winning. We were very competitive back in the playoffs. And then they won the district, and then just up it up. And then Lauren comes in and just takes it to a whole nother level, man. He's building something just special down there. The whole community.
Oh yeah.
It's unbelievable, man. So just very proud of what they're doing there.
Yeah, my brother. So Lauren used to be up here in Manassas at it's now called Univ of Richmond, but it was Stonewall Jackson when he was there. And man, he had some talent through there. I think he coached Ryan Williams, who went to Virginia Tech, and a number of really great athletes back in the day there. And then he left and went to Highland Springs, and I was like, oh man, we losing you out of Prince William County. But I knew the history of Highland Springs because I played at Bethel, 757 PD. And but the one thing we did is we scrimmaged. My coach had a relationship with their coach in the late 80s, and we would scrimmage Highland Springs every year. Every year. Man. It was, and it was those were schools that had some tradition going back to the 70s and 80s. So I'm familiar with Highland Springs, and and I'm actually a Lauren fan. I remember when he played at Virginia Tech, my brother played there and was like a mentor to him, and was always just telling me, hey, yo, Rusty, this dude he knows what he's doing. And well,
he knows what he's doing beyond football, man. The character of those kids are something special, man. He just really believes in just, building young men. And I'll tell you, one of the first things he did that I thought he did an excellent job is he came down and immediately just develop a relationship with all the Little League programs.
Yeah. There you go.
And when you come in this area, like Little League, like that's where 757, in my opinion, was special back in the day. Like their Little League programs were just so far ahead of everybody. And, Richmond was starting to catch up. And then Lauren comes in. And the first thing, man, you can see it on the staff, man. He just got guys who like, man, you've been coaching these guys all their life. Come on, get on the staff and work with them. And he just, and so kids come up, man. You meet kids 6, 7, 8 years old, and their dream in Virginia Tech, it is in Virginia, is I want to play for Highland Springs.
We were just talking about that. Yeah. We were just talking because we grew up in the 757 and we didn't have major college football. We didn't have a professional team. Right. The people we looked up to were the Hampton Crabbers and the Bethel Bruins and those star athletes, man.
Because the reality is, like back then, if you could ball at Hampton, if you could ball at Bethel, if you could ball at Phoebus, you could ball anywhere. And so now it's the same thing. Those kids on the Eastern and Rico, man, if I can ball at Highland Springs, if I can ball at Verina, man, what you gonna tell me? I can pretty much go where I want to go and be successful. So it's I love the culture they're building, man, or has built, and I'm just impressed, man.
Chris, are you going to be able to make it to the game, LC Byrd and Highland Springs?
I wish I could, but it's pretty much at the same time as the University of Richmond and Davidson game, same time.
Okay,
But
yeah.
if it was a difference, I definitely would try to make both.
Well, they're home for the whole playoffs except for the state championship, which you may have the opportunity to see the winner of Western Branch and Western Branch is going to Manchester. Well, no, I'm talking about 5. Sorry, 5. Stonebridge. Stonebridge may be there like next week. So,
and
so that'll be a thing. That'll be a thing.
And Stonebridge and Highland Springs have battled for years, man.
Listen, that's gonna be a thing, and the way it ended last year, just I won't get into it, but I don't think anybody.
We were there. I know.
Yeah, we were there.
Anybody was happy with the way that ended. So I think right now I'm happy that they're playing a really good LC Byrd team because they can't afford to look past Byrd. They're too good. So so they're gonna have to focus on this win. And if they're lucky enough, they play well enough to get beyond that, then they got Stonebridge, and look, that's it, man. That's on bulletin boards everywhere. I promise you.
Yes. Oh, no doubt, no doubt. We actually had the Bird's coach Troy. We had him on in the preseason. He went to Byrd? Were you there at the same time?
Yeah, Troy was a young buck, man. When I was on varsity, Troy was JV. So I mean, that game is probably good that I'm not going, man. I don't know where I'd be. You know what I mean? I'll just kind of try to keep up and maybe, shut my phone off during the U of R game and maybe just try to watch it afterwards. Just know, just kind of go from there.
Yeah. Okay, so cool. Kirk's probably having some technical difficulties, but he'll hop back on. So look, we just talked about the Highland Springs Byrd matchup. So I don't know if your heart is one way because you went to Byrd, but you coached at Highland Springs. I tell you, a lot of people feel like Highland Springs is just the best team in the state, period. And I'm talking Freedom, Oscar Smith, which is out, but Phoebus, like those were some of the teams we've been looking at all year. And I can promise you from what I've heard, after they lost it, Stonebridge last year, Highland Springs has been on a mission. Do you think anybody can beat them in 5?
In 5, obviously I'm biased, but I don't think so. I think their worst enemy will be them at this point, and Lauren would never say it. Obviously, no coach would say it. I'm sure he didn't want to lose last year, but in terms of this year, I mean, and it's not an old team. Like, this is the first time I've seen a GD team a couple of years ago in a paper, in an article about it. Like, this might be the best. They were talking about them as freshmen and sophomores. This might be the best group of players ever assembled. Right. And so now they've reached varsity, man. It's sophomores and juniors, dude. They don't have a ton of seniors.
Their quarterback was a sophomore last year in the Stone, but he's a junior. Right. He's also a great athlete. Like, they have guys, they won the basketball state championship.
Exactly. So special talent, man. I mean, obviously in a perfect world, I'd love to see what they would do against Freedom, because I just read about Freedom and that team looks unbelievable. The scores, like, what is going on up there? They're like, man, nobody's competing. And then Phoebus, come on, man. Phoebus puts up 50 on Oscar Smith,
bro.
So, like, I would love to see that. But in terms of 5 right now, from what I'm seeing, I think it's theirs to lose. I think it's a benefit that they're playing, that they got Byrd, someone who I think the last time they played, there's a history there. That's all. They don't play very often, but when they do, it's always a close game. 2 traditional powerhouses, so you won't look past that. Then if you're able to get past that, you got Stonebridge. Promise they won't look past that. Right. I think if you're a coach, it doesn't get much better in terms of making sure your guys are motivated. So Highland Springs skill-wise, I love what they do on both sides of the ball. Martin, the quarterback, man, he's just, dude, he doesn't look like most high school quarterbacks, the way he stands there. And you know how high school is. You find read, this guy's supposed to get the ball, you go there. Yeah. Actually watching the quarterback go first read, second read, dump off to the third. Like, dude, you just don't see high school guys doing that. And to see that happen, he has so many weapons, and then defensively they fly around. So, obviously, like I said, I'm biased. I'm pulling for him, but in terms of talent, barring no ridiculous injuries, particularly at the quarterback position, I think it's theirs to lose.
Okay. So look, in terms of high school football, you know your stuff, and we've covered that 5. But then I want to go with your other job, and that is as the color man for the Spike. It's a place you were a great football player, and I know you love that program. Tell us a little bit about, well, how did you get that job, and how long have you been doing it?
So in terms of the job, man, I was just an alum who still came back and would come to games. And I was just that guy. I was always around cutting jokes, laughing. And, they would say, I'm like, hey, I got a comment, I got words, I got thoughts. You know what I mean?
Jay Golson of University of Richmond Sports, the guy who Jay is a guy up here, I call the godfather of Richmond Sports. He got opinion and thoughts on everything.
Yeah. And they would just be like, you know what, put the mic in front of them. And I would just kind of go from there. And then Jasmine Coleman, who I played with, he just career-wise started taking off, and he just didn't have the time to do it. And then I made a few names, and I was one of them. And when I got the call, I didn't even know they were looking at anybody else. I was like, man, let's get it. I know the program dear to my heart. I know the school. And I feel like I have a decent grasp of the game, and don't mind being in front of the camera. So back then it was just radio. I was there when we started TV. Yep. Yeah, so it was just radio. So which my wife always says, I have a face for radio, so it's perfect.
So how many years has it been now?
Oh man, I guess it's been
2015. Your bio said, I think. 2015. I'm answering this question.
This is year 7. What throws me off sometimes is that COVID year.
Yeah, right.
7. We had that weird COVID spring season. So I guess would be year 7, and done a little bit of everything. So I was here. Rocco was the coach when I first got here, and we were Kyle Laletta was our quarterback. So I wear a bunch of my rings, and they're like, is that when you played? No, I got 1, but I got like 3 Kyle Laletta rings. Who went on to be drafted by the Giants. And, so I've been to the playoffs, and we had Rocco left, and we got Coach Huseman who came in, and man, we've just kind of been right on the bubble. I mean, multiple years of, 6-5, 7-4. In FCS, at least in the CAA, we usually say it's the race to 8. You got to get to 8 if you want to get in, and they were able to get that done this year.
Yeah.
So, University of Richmond, man, I'll tell you, when I was a kid, I used to come and spend summers at my cousins, Sammy and Stacy Young. And I didn't know anything about the schools, colleges. I mean, I'm talking like middle school. And I remember telling my aunt and uncle, I was like, I want to go to the University of Richmond. Only thing I knew about it was I'd see the sign coming up 64 to their house. Right. And I would be like, that's where I want to go to school. And I didn't even really think about football. Then I remember I took a visit there, and they were playing VMI. Now, Richmond wasn't really recruiting me, but VMI was. And I went to the game, and this was my senior year, I think. And y'all played at the old stadium.
Yeah, the City Stadium. I played at City Stadium. So I'm one of
the you played at City Stadium.
Yeah, last few teams to play at City Stadium. I love that environment. Obviously, bigger crowds. I really felt like this is just my opinion, we were the University of Richmond, like, not just Henrico, not just University of Richmond, but the city. We were, Division I football for the city, and we played at City Stadium. Obviously, it's a bigger stadium, so tickets were cheaper. So a dad can get up in the morning and grab his son and say, hey, y'all want to go see some football? Let's go see some football.
Yep.
Tickets were $8. Obviously, it's a different thing. We're on campus, smaller venue, extremely nice. I mean, U of R style, it's going to be extra nice. But, tickets are more expensive. It's on campus. Like you said, it's kind of this. I mean, when I taught at Highland Springs, so many kids didn't even know where University of Richmond was. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I remember saying, I wouldn't mind going to Richmond, but I didn't even know where the campus was because we didn't go to the campus. We went to the city. But they crushed VMI that day, and that was the school actually was recruiting me a little bit. And I was like, well, I'm not going there either. But I always say there's going to be something about Richmond. And then, years later, I went to VCU, and I was like, oh, yeah, now Richmond's my rival. But I still have always pulled for Richmond. And I'll tell you when I really – and one of the reasons I know I used to like the University of Richmond, because I played at Bethel, and we had a wall of all former players that played in college.
Right.
And I used to see this Mike London picture
Yeah.
all the time. And that
Yeah.
was one of the reasons I also thought, okay, Richmond football. And Mike London was on the wall. And so if you stayed around the program as active as you were, even before announcing, so were you active and around the program when they won the national championship in 2008?
I was. So actually, when I played, Coach London was an assistant coach.
Okay.
So I knew Coach London well. And I'm going to say this while it's on my mind. He got absolutely robbed. He should have been the CAA Coach of the Year. He was not. Other people can have other opinions. I think they're all wrong. That man came, when he took that job, they were 2-9. He's built that program from a place where I'm telling you, a high academic school, other schools in the area. It's tough to build a program at a place like U of R, a place like William and Mary, to build it to the status they are now. Man, and I couldn't believe that when I saw that this morning that he wasn't Coach of the Year in the CAA. So that's that's my guy. Had a chance to play for him, and then he led us to the national championship, and then moved on to UVA. Just a high character guy, man. Again, you look at guys like, who would I let my son play for? Mike London's the type of guy.
Yeah. Yep. His younger brother Paul played with my brother. In fact, when I watched the game the other night, I saw at the halftime, it was a picture of they were asking about halftime adjustments or whatever. And in the background, Kirk, I'll send you the picture. Rodney Howard, who was on our show a few weeks ago, was a star running back. Somebody I looked up to who was 2 years ahead of me. But Rodney Howard, who works in the police force there, was walking in the background. And so I froze it and I took a picture of Rodney walking behind Mike, and then I just sent it privately to Mike, Paul London, my brother, and Rodney. And then Rodney posted it today. and Mike actually, I said, because we were saying congratulations on Facebook, and he responded to me and said, "Oh yeah, thanks, Rusty." But big fan, and we've never met. But I just, I've been a huge Mike London fan, and let me tell you this: you can speak to this too. The CAA, to me, bruh, the toughest FCS conference, top to bottom, in the country.
I'm sorry, Kirk. I cut you off. Go ahead, Kirk.
No, I was just saying football, and it's a great conference for basketball also.
Right. And I think you hit the nail on the head with the top to bottom. Like that's the thing, man. So a lot of times it's referred to as the SEC of FCS, because it's like it's the battle to just get out, man. You just got to get out. And so this year I'm a little we got 5 teams in, which was great. That's tied for the most in the country. But it's almost like we got 5 teams in, but nobody really got a great seed. You know what I mean? So it's almost like, okay, if we
I was looking at the brackets. Yeah.
If we give you 5, we can't give you great seeds too. Like if we just give you 3, maybe we'll give you better seeds. So that's always the tough part. Now we beat each other up so much. We get in there and we come in bruised and battered and banged up. We're banged up right now. And so that's a tough thing. So we got Davidson, 2-8, we're 8-3, they're 8-3. Coming from a smaller conference, but I tell you what, this is their 3rd straight year to the playoffs. Yeah. And that's dangerous to me, man. When you're talking about a team, it's our first time. This group of kids, it's their first time making the FCS playoffs.
Oh wow!
It's a team where they've been there. This is their 3rd year. Only 4 other teams have been there, 3 times in a row. They're one of them. So it's going to be interesting, man. And their style of ball, they're old school triple option. You know what I mean? And that's one of those things where you appreciate having our coaches, Russ Huseman. You appreciate having a coach who's been at it 30, 40 years.
Right. Yeah.
Like some of these young coaches, they never had
So Kirk, I appreciate you being my partner, my co-host, and I'll let you talk eventually. But you just, Chris, bro, let me tell you something. When I played at Bethel, I played quarterback, I played fullback. But when I was there and the parts of the time I played quarterback, we ran the wishbone and we ran the option. In fact, Bethel won the state championship in 74 and 76. One of my assistant coaches when I played there was Frank Brown, but he was a quarterback at Bethel. And I think it was the 76 state championship. He only completed 14 passes the whole year. like the whole year. Okay. And nobody can stop. But this is what I want to say. Like, what frustrates me to no end is I watch look, they spread it out, and that's fine. I think that's cool. I've been telling people for years, I said, all they're doing is playing flag football. I played 20 years. I said, they should just spread it out playing 7-on-7 now. But I can't stand these younger guys, man. They don't know how to just run block. They don't know how to put the man under center, and you only need 1 yard. Bro, look, my son played at Bishop Ireton, and they had a 6'6" quarterback, Jamie Kaiser, who's going to Maryland to play basketball, 4-star football player, 6'6", and they'd be on the 1 yard line, and he'd still be in shotgun with no block. Like, bro, and they had no blocking. That was one of the weakest parts is their offensive line, and most times the defense would beat the ball to the quarterback, and I'm like, just put him under center. But go ahead, man. I think
that's football 101, right? I think just generationally things change, things progress. But just because they progress doesn't mean what was done in the past doesn't work, right? So then that's how when Army's running, Army had been terrible. They go triple option and it works. Why? Because, you're moving, they have smaller linemen, works perfect for them. Navy works perfect for them. Air Force works perfect for them. And here's the thing, man, like it's so much about watching film and prepping and preparing. Dude, if I got 11 games on my schedule and 10 teams run a spread, run back pistol formation, and then I got in week 8, I got to get my guys ready for Army.
That's the way it was with Navy. Yeah, Navy and Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech, bro. That's a whole, man. Coaches are, you know what I mean. And then these young coaches, they're brought in. So they're brought in because if you're a young defensive coach, you're brought in because you know how to stop the spread. You come in, you build a defense to stop the spread, and then boom, you play somebody who runs like the triple option, and it's the thing. And don't look, I always say this, man. You see it at high school too. Every now and then you'll just see an old school coach line up in the wing T.
Stonebridge,
right?
You got to prepare for them, and you only got 1 week. If it ain't the first game of the season and you had all summer, you in trouble.
You in trouble, especially if they have talent running a one wing T at the high school level, and you only playing that one game a week or 1 game a year. Oh, it's going to be a whole thing with 15 to 17-year-olds. So, that's football 101. That's just my take.
Chris, so you're in Chesapeake. What's the logistics like for the games? I mean, if you're like everybody else, you're traveling with the team. So whether it be bus or plane, you're with the team, aren't you?
Yeah. So, blessed with my schedule in terms of my job, I have some flexibility. You know what I mean? It's sales. It's a quota. Make a quota, you're good. And so I'll usually create my schedule just understanding like, okay, if we need to travel, I'll make sure I'm there on Friday to either, or we'll drive up. A lot of times the TV radio guys will travel, separately. We'll rent a car and go up. If we're hopping on the plane, look, and these dudes, they travel differently now, man. They charter in planes.
Yeah.
When I played, it was like, we got there, got on the bus, drove 2 hours to DC, went through security, the whole thing. We're getting on the plane like everybody else. Here, man, we drive up, hop on the plane, and we fly there. So in terms of logistics, just make sure I'm available for that. And then just, so my week usually works like Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm just watching film on the other team. And I just want to get a feel of what they do, how they work, what they're good at. Thursday, I'm usually that's when I start to get my names, names of other guys. A lot of times it's just number 9, number 7.
That's exactly what I was getting ready to ask you. And I'll let you continue, but we struggle with that because we cover dozens and dozens of teams.
Right.
Rusty and I said in the beginning that we're finding it impossible. It's like, hey, we don't want to say that tall receiver, number 18 for Western Branch. We want to be able to say his name. So my challenge is that we don't have a crew here, man. So I'm like, but that's a challenge. That's interesting. I was going to ask you, did you prep with the names and all that? So
I haven't gotten to that. So right now I'm in the phase, I just like watch video, whatever I can find, you know what I mean? If I'm in Richmond, I can stop by coaches, whatever, to let me look at some stuff. But, a lot of times CAA stuff, we're on Flow Football. It's a website where you can go on and all the games are on the web. Right. So you can watch those, are on demand, do stuff like that. We usually, first game, we're going to play a UVA, a Tech, somebody like that. So obviously you can find plenty of stuff. Like I said, Thursday and Friday, I get into the names. And usually Friday, Saturday morning, I'm getting heavy into like the stats. And
Okay.
and I'm gonna just say this off the bat. I have the most amazing partner, Bob Black. Again, 40 years in the business.
Yeah.
I pretty much just got to step in there and not blow it. You know what I mean? He lets me do my thing, but he comes in and it's just prepared like you wouldn't believe, fellas. Like, I mean, just stats upon stats. It's just, I mean, just it's and people come from far and wide to kind of watch him do what he does to learn what he does. And that's like, you know what I mean? You kind of take it for granted until you see kids coming in and guys who started their careers coming in and just, they've called him, can I just come watch you? So, I just go in and I have fun with him. He lets me be me. And he's big on that. He's like, I want my color man to be my color man. I will be the black and white. I will guide. I will do this. I want you to be who you are. And he lets me come in and just have fun.
So Chris, go ahead. Yeah, I was just going to ask you, with so many people doing podcasts now, when you got in, and that's more classic broadcast, radio and TV, what were the challenges? Because you obviously are gifted and you're at ease and things like that. But when you're live and you have commercial breaks and all that, what were some of the tricks of the trade that it took you a while, like everybody else, like sports, you got to make some mistakes or whatever. So what were the challenges? And then what came, obviously we have a pretty good idea of what comes naturally, you're articulate, your color commentator, but what was it that was a challenge and that you felt that you had to hone in? And then tell us about just the natural flow that you got going.
First of all, I'm laughing because you're saying some of the challenges, like I've gotten over them. I'm still learning. Initial challenge was that mute button, baby, that mute button. You got to learn how to hit it and grab it when you're going to say something that just is not fit for TV and radio.
Is there a delay? Do y'all have a delay?
Yeah, I think TV, there's a slight delay, but again, learning that mute button. And then it's just the reality of just like 4 hours is a long time to talk, man.
Yes.
You think you understand the game. You think you know something, but like try not to repeat yourself 1,000 times. And 4 hours, like, yeah, he's fast. He's really fast. He's really, really fast.
Right.
You're trying to just be creative. And sometimes it is like that. I think that's I think other games, like if we're winning big, luckily I've not been around many games where we've been losing big. This hasn't been a real thing at U of R. Usually, even when we lose, we're competitive, but maybe we're winning big, or maybe a team like, this team, they're triple option. So sometimes it's going to be 3 yards in a cloud of dust, right? So just trying to keep that creative and what do I say and how do I say it? So just trying to, and I have fun. You try to learn as much background as you can on kids. And one thing about traveling with the team, you're on the buses, you're in the hotels. So sometimes you just snatch up a kid when you're eating, just start talking, and you'll learn something about him. Like, oh, your daddy is who?
Yeah.
Right.
You went where? Okay. And then you just start talking, and then you're on TV and boom, that stuff just starts to come out. So we're getting there, Kirk, man. I don't want to act like I got it all, man. But again, you just have fun with it. There's definitely still some challenges. Another big one for me is when we're on TV and you got the mic, you got the headset on, and they're downstairs and you're talking, I'm making a point, I'm making a statement, and then, they hit the button and they're talking to you. Hey, Chris, you got 22 seconds, you got 20 seconds, finish your thought, and And it's hard not to keep talking, but listen. That's probably one of the hardest things for me.
Yeah, man.
Oh my God. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, Kirk Hilliard is this, and he's and he comes filling the play, and like, Chris, hey, you got 18 seconds. We need you to finish that thought, and It's like try not to stop. Continue, and then find 18 more seconds to put on top of that, right?
Man, look, I'm ADD. I would be saying my thing, and if you said 18 seconds and I'd be number 18, like, where did that come from?
Right. Trust me, I still do it today. And I look at Bob, and he's like, oh, gotcha. He'll give me one of those and give me that, and I got you.
So let's quickly, I want to touch on the bright. We talked about the playoffs, and you guys have Davidson. And again, the CAA, for those that don't know, we're not joking. Like, it is a great conference. When you talk about some of the teams that have won national championships or made it to the game, is you've got JMU, who just left, but won 2 and was in a few others. And I do want to ask you about JMU, and then moving on. but I believe, let me see, Delaware's won a national championship.
Six.
Villanova won one, right?
Villanova's 1-1.
Montana, Montana's big in FCS, aren't they?
Yeah, but that's out there.
Montana's
I'm talking about
they're out west.
NCAA.
Right.
Yep.
I think Townsend made it to a final.
Yep. Towson has made it. So, I mean, yeah, you're right.
Richmond.
Richmond, obviously, we won one. Yeah, so when you look top to bottom, again, when you said that earlier, top to bottom, that's what makes the CAA special. And here's what people miss, right? So I grew up in the Midwest, right? So if you weren't Big Ten, then you went to the MAC conference, right?
Right. Conference too, by the way.
South, if you're not SEC, there's other FBS conferences you go to. If you're on the East Coast, that kind of Atlantic, if you don't go ACC, where do you go? So CAA. So you know what I mean? So
yeah,
most FCS football is kind of like, for lack of a better word, man, I don't want to be disrespectful. It's kind of third tier, right? It's your Power 5, FBS, and then your FCS, right? And the CAA is kind of like Power 5.
Yeah,
there's there's nobody else. So if you're not ACC, do I want to go all the way across the country? Do I want to go somewhere? Some kids like, man, I don't want to go that far away. I'll go to JMU. I'll go to Richmond. I'll go to William and Mary. I'll get a great education, and I'll still have a chance to play pro, because we put
that's right
in the NFL as the MAC conference, as some of these non-Power 5 conferences. We put just as many people in the NFL. So we got great schools. So our kids are like, makes sense.
Yeah.
I was just going to add on that I want to talk about the HBCU too, but coupling those together. FCS, it seems like more now, the pros are really going out and finding people, right? You don't necessarily have to be upper tier. We're getting more and more Division III players in. Think of Sam Mills, some of the players that have come out that are in the Hall of Fame. But what's your feeling on the FCS putting more players? Richmond's had Barry Redden, some great Sean Barber. Mary's had some great players, and then we talked about the transfer. Joe Flacco started at Penn State, went to Delaware, but and then also we see this. We want to segue into the HBCU, but HBCUs now are getting more recognition, and they're finding more players there. What's your thought on that? You don't necessarily have to go to a Power 5, and your feeling about FCS as well as HBCU. And we can talk about the historically Black colleges, because they've been players in the pros for a very long time, but it's starting to change. Man, every time I pull up social media, you know how they know what you're doing? I got Coach Prime. Give me my theme music, that music. But it's just like, man, that is going to change things. Where do you see things going? Because Chris, you got your ear to the wall all the time. You're talking to players and coaches, but the FCS and the HBCUs, and a lot of the HBCUs are going up to FCS and Division I.
So I got a lot of questions. So I'm gonna start with first. Let me say this, because I got my roommate, DeJuan Jones. He's the director of pro scouting for the Falcons. Joe Douglas played with Joey D. He is the GM for the Jets. Okay. And then Todd McShay. I don't know if you guys know Mr. Todd McShay. He was also your boss. So we all played together. So they would be totally upset. They all started in scouting. So when Kirk said, "Yo, it seems like the scouts are all of a sudden paying attention," they would be upset, because they feel like they've always been doing that and working hard. I will say, I think for them, this is my opinion, that it's gotten to be an easier sell, right? Because they were going to every school. They would go to D3 schools. But I think when you then come and report back to your coaches and to the GM and to, hey, I found a talent at this D2 school, da-da-da-da. When I talk to them, like, man, that used to be a super hard sell. You know what I mean? You had to be like a pretty well-revered scout to be able to sell the team on this D2 guy. That's not the case anymore.
Yeah.
Right. I think there's more video, there's more tape, there's more film. Right. I think also guys used to worry about, we get this guy in the second round. He has to be a player, because the fans are like, who is this dude? That's not right. So that's my thing there. In terms of HBCUs, I'll just speak to what Coach Prime is doing down at Jackson State. I mean, what he's done is come out and because when I came out of school, I looked at Hampton, I looked at Howard, and chose University of Richmond. Those were probably my first choices, right? But Richmond was like, man, well, look, we play, obviously the academics are, but we play in this conference. You're going to have a chance to play at this level, and you're going to get the great education, but maybe have a chance to play at the next level. And for so long, I think, you know, particularly Black players felt like they had to make a decision. Either I go get the Black experience or I have a chance to go pro. Man, Coach Prom comes in, he's got 14 coaches, man, like 13 of them have either played or coached in the NFL or both. So he's saying, come get the Black experience, and oh yeah, you're gonna learn from the best. Yeah. I'm gonna get you the attention you need. I'm gonna get the eyes you need. You can learn, and you know what I mean? So now I can get the both the best of both worlds. If I wanted the HBCU experience, but I still wanted to have a chance to play on the next level, man, they're giving you that opportunity. So, man, what kid, you know what I mean, isn't gonna think about that? Like for me, we played Hampton on Hampton's homecoming, right? And just to see some of our kids, you know what I mean? Like they chose University of Richmond, but you could see they were like, man, this is awesome. Yeah, this experience. So to get that, and it's you know, hard to relate, but I mean, anybody who's been around the HBCU, particularly if you're African American, like, man, this is cool. You know, get that experience, but still have a chance to play on the next level. I think that's where Coach Prime is doing something special, man.
I totally agree. Let me ask you this. So, what are your thoughts on the HBCUs, especially the SWAC and MEAC, not participating in the FCS playoffs? And so I want to say this. They don't do it because I got on those message boards and I started trying to break it down. And then some people just, you know, all they do is argue. But my point is this. Like, what are your thoughts on them not participating? And I'll say this because I got on one of the boards and I was saying, look, like, I was glad, fam, you got in there, but you got to represent. And so let me get my point out first. And that is that if you want to be the best, I think you got to play the best. And so what I'm also putting in there is, what are your thoughts on Hampton and A&T leaving the MEAC? Okay. Them leaving the MEAC, but, you know, it's going to be much tougher now because, you know, I know when they went to the, you know, the Big South or the South Conference, whatever, that's different than the CAA. But what are your thoughts on the SWAC and MEAC calling themselves playing the Black College National Championship? And I got a problem with it because you're only talking about two colleges. They're not talking about the CIAA and other schools. So it's not even really because look, this union team.
Bowie has something to say about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So go ahead.
Bowie's been good. Bowie's been good. So, all right. So here's my thing, man. So the player in me is like, yeah, you want to beat a man, you got to beat the man. You want to play the best. You want to do this. You want to do that. Look, but now that I've been around the other side of the game, you know what I mean? The administration around AD, this and that, man, it's kind of like, man, get your money. You know what I mean? My wife is she's also in higher education, right? So she's a dean, she's a bigwig in higher education. So I'm watching the struggles, and she spent some time working at the HBCU, just trying to get your money. And then it's like the Celebration Bowl, man, they're going to sell it out, 85,000 people. You're going to have a celebrity halftime. You're going to have the band, you know what I mean? You're going to be, what is it, ABC or NBC prime time, nothing else going on. You know what I mean? So you're going to get that. And I think they're guarantee both teams at least 500,000.
Yeah. And then other teams in the conference get a little bit, I believe, from that.
So I think it's each, so look at this, man. So in the FCS, if you're not playing at home, you're not making any money, man. You're not making any money. Like Davidson's, that's why the first round is all regional. People are like, well, why are you playing this? And why is this team playing this? They should be playing them later on. And it's got to be regional because that first round, the home team will make some money. You know what I mean? Hopefully, you know what I mean? But that first round, the road team's definitely not making any money. And a lot of times the home team doesn't make money because it's the same weekend as Thanksgiving. It's the same day as high school football playoffs. It's so much, man. Like, I'll be honest, this will probably be our smallest crowd all year. Right. So if we make anything, it won't be a lot. And then Davidson, they're traveling, they won't make a lot. And then so I'm supposed to tell Jackson State and who are they playing? Is it Central? Yeah, Jackson State and Central. I'm supposed to tell them not go get those kids that great experience and come home with $500,000 to $750,000 for your program. Come on, man. Just so because I've been an athlete, just so I can go to the barbershop and say, yeah, we went to the playoffs.
Right.
Playoffs. School lost money and we lost by 25. You know what I mean?
You're right.
So that's that. It's like that young athlete versus the grown man. The grown man is like, man, go get your money. This is good for the school. This is good for the program. This is good advertising. It makes sense, man. And kids, if you want to play, that's another chance. Again, you're going to be on major TV. So
yeah. And I get that. I just wish it was a way we could figure out where those schools, those programs could get money and still, like, I guess part of what I think is that, like, because look, when the very first 1AA national champion was actually Florida A&M.
FAMU.
FAMU in 1978. They won the very first.
I'm gonna give you my FAMU thoughts, right? Because that was a big thing. Like, why are they not in? Because usually the second place team or whatever, like, you can still qualify and make it, and they're 9-2. This is where I struggle, right? Because they're 9-2, but at least one or two of their wins were against Division II programs, right?
Yeah.
But the Division II HBCUs, so you want to honor the tradition, right? I get that.
Norfolk State, Virginia State. Tradition.
Yeah, exactly. But when you go and you're trying to get in the playoffs, they're going to say, yeah, you're 9-2, but two of these don't count. Right. So you're really 7-2. You got 7 1-double, you got 7 FCS wins, right? And then they look at it and then, okay, so who'd you play in the top 25? We played Jackson State. Last year they lost 7-6 to Jackson State. Then they got in. This year they lost 59-7. Right. So you got 2 Division IIs. You lost 59-7 from your only top 25 program. And I know they're like all these CAA teams, but man, the thing about the CAA, all these guys, they got 4, 5, 6 opponents in the top 25.
5, right?
You know what I mean?
That's right.
That's a hard. That being said, I still would like to see it. I wish FAMU would have made it. I still would
I do too.
Because that's a tough. Like, so do they break tradition? Do they go break tradition and not do the Division II HBCU games? You know what I mean?
So, right. No, I feel. What do you think about this? What if you're number one, like Dion, they finish first? Maybe we send the first to the playoffs, in the second, maybe plays in the Celebration Bowl.
I think the first should have the choice. That's what I think. I think the first should have the choice in terms of whether they want to go or not. I still don't think most teams, once you start looking at the math, and the math ain't mathing. You know what I mean? Now, see, JSU, but Jackson State would be a totally different situation. They bring in more people than any other team in FCS. So I'm telling you right now, their home game, I mean, if they made it, if they chose to be in the playoffs, they're playing home games. Because the FCS is like, oh yeah, y'all got 40,000 people a game. We're playing home games. That's going on ESPN. We're doing the whole nine. Coach Prime is a coach. So, I just don't know if they really have that choice.
Yeah.
So I know what I wanted to ask you is, from Baltimore probably down to Charlotte, highest concentration of historically Black colleges and universities. And things are changing fast. And you guys are talking about some of the intricacies that the rest of college football has either worked out or they're further down the road. Where do you see HBCU football in 25 years with conferences, money, the experience? Like, let's fast forward. Coach Prime's going to be gone. We're going to be old, and
man,
2047, what do you see?
I struggle with this one, Kirk. I struggle because I love the vibe. I love going to an HBCU.
Oh yeah.
The bands, you know what I mean? I love that. And I just feel like, is it better? Obviously you're seeing A&T moving up and Hampton moving out. So they're not going after just any schools. They're going after good HBCUs. You know what I mean?
Extremely well-respected and high academic. Yeah.
So high academic schools. So it's just like you can feel the historic nature of HBCUs football. It's hard to believe that that's still going to be around in 25 years. And I don't know, man. I don't feel good about it. I'll be honest. I don't feel good about it because, and I know they're going to say money and they're going to say this, and they're going to say that. And then you have Coach Prime come in and just like that changes everything. Well, you can't go backwards. All these teams left the conference. It is what it is. That they started down this trek. You kind of got to go where you go. So I think, at least the top schools, the top academic schools, I think they're going to move on and join some of these FCS programs because how's it happening, right? Why did we expand? Because JMU moved up, right? Mm-hmm. So as some of those programs, these FCS programs in the major FCS conferences move up, well, we're looking for somebody to fill the gap, right? So we're going to start looking at those HBCUs that are traditionally good, A&T, Central, Hampton, like come on and join us, right? So I know in CAA, we've got, Hampton just joined and we got A&T coming next year. So, we're going to keep robbing those, HBCU programs.
So this is how I want to fix it this way. I just want this. It's fun. I want a playoff for HBCUs. And what I want to do is be an invitational, and it doesn't matter conference, because we got independents at the FCS level that, we've got schools in the CAA, maybe even if you just start at 4, but even maybe some Division II NAIA schools and see what they can, and can they make money with that model, but then give some of the other teams a choice if they want to play in the conference championships. I totally agree about getting the money, and they do need it. So, but when you talk about the Celebration Bowl, it's just those conferences, and the MEAC has got to disappear. I think that I hear them talking about maybe joining with the SWAC and just making one big super conference, because all those teams got the MEAC.
That hurts my heart a little bit, man.
I know.
Come on, man. I get it. You're probably right, though. I mean, Kirk, to answer your question, 25 years. If there's one or two large HBCU conferences left, I think that might be as realistic as we can get. So
okay.
Talking to two black men in America, is that good, bad, or both? Because you want to be on the level with everybody else. So you're looking at Jackson State. I don't think Jackson State is going to turn into like a school like Hampton. It's not going to turn into a 50% white school. It may, and by the way, HBCUs have been recruiting white players much more often. They do it actively now, but I can see the reminiscence, of the history, losing it. But what I'm thinking is, when I think of, I've seen more of the inside of stadiums at HBCUs than I've ever seen. So you're talking Pepsi, Ford, YouTube, all this advertising. It's like, it's a prime. So I think there would have to be a balance. And it's interesting that you said that, Rusty, because if you said choice, giving them the choice, I would think that it's probably going to come down to the cream rising to the top. And I think some of the classic programs may be left out that don't necessarily have someone like Dion. But what comes to mind for me is that a lot of these places are set up for really good facility growth. If you look at Hampton University, the way that stadium's situated, they've got the opportunity to build around it. They can build it up as well as Jackson State.
They actually built the far end zone for this past season.
Right.
And they overall, I think they still need to continue to build on that stadium. But I did want to ask you this, Chris. So I totally feel you on the HBCU experience. Now, coming out, I also wanted to play football maybe at Howard. But my reason for wanting to go to Howard wasn't because of football. I remember looking at the pamphlet for the girls.
Wanted the experience. You wanted the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a son who's a senior, and he's gotten recruiting interest from different schools. But I made sure one of the ones that he really liked him was Bowie State. So we went to their homecoming, and he lost his mind because he goes to Cogan, and that's the environment is. I mean, we the neighborhood is predominantly a white school and things, and I've always tried to tell him about the bands and the girls and. He went to Bowie State's homecoming and lost his mind, man. So and Virginia State, he loves Virginia State. So we'll see.
What's the receiver? He was the number one. He went to Jackson State. Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter. And Dion tells that story, man. Like, we let him go to all those other schools first. He had one last visit. We brought him down. for homecoming. And so
It's a wrap.
We sold him on the HBCU experience, and then we sold him on the fact he met the coaching staff. And man, it's 14 coaches, 14 guys who played in the pros, coached in the pros, or both. If we can't get you ready, nobody can. Come on, man.
Right.
If you now you're selling the athletics with the HBCU experience, man. So your son, yeah, I get it. He ain't crazy.
No. And so we're actually going to Virginia State this weekend to we went to the spring game last year. We're going to go catch the basketball game on Saturday. But he likes Virginia State and Bowie State. Last question for you.
Let me say this. Really what it comes down to is look, man, there's only so many 300-pound behemoths that are just super athletic and super strong to go around, man. You know what I mean? And so they're going to go to the SEC. They're going to go, you know what I mean? When you work your way down, like, that's the thing. Like, scouts been going to HBCUs looking for DBs and receivers. Let's just keep it real. Right. DBs and receivers, that ain't new. The thing is, we're starting to get some linebackers. Oh, some safeties. Oh, a lineman. Okay, that's what's different.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. All right. So last question on this, then we're going to get into more a little bit back into to Chris Anderson, the dude. So let me ask you this. JMU moved up.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about Richmond? Do you want to see you guys stay where you are, or could you envision or see a time, because your school's not very different than Wake Forest in terms of being a private institution, maybe enrollment. I think your athletes are great, and then if you move up, you get more scholarships. What are your thoughts about JMU moving up, and then what about would you want to see Richmond do that?
There's a lot to moving up, right? So JMU wanted to move up for almost a decade. The problem was, no conference wanted them, right? Because what do you bring to the table? You got to bring TV to the table. You got to bring advertising to the table. You got to bring money to the conference. And they were good. So we're just going to let you're not bringing TV. You're not bringing marketing. It's hard to get to you because you don't have an airport, and you're going to come in and kick our butt the first year. Come on, like no conference was looking to sign up for that. And that's exactly what they've done. They only moved up because teams were moving out.
And
so they had to go. They had JMU, they were screaming for it, and they moved up, and they've done exactly what they were hoping they wouldn't done. If their quarterback hadn't have been hurt a couple games, they might still be undefeated in the top 25 right now, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so in terms of Richmond, I'm happy where we are, man. I just want to see us successful, because I also understand what comes into that. I think we have to bust our butt to be competitive at the level we're at, and it has to do with us being such a high academic school, right? And then you throw in the transfer portal, and it's like, man, we'll get a couple guys, you know what I mean? But academically, the type of dude we're looking for, there's only so many schools they're going to come from. We got Ivy League, VMI, we've gotten guys from like Northwestern, Vanderbilt, Duke. Every school has a school in their conference, right?
Yep.
Every school is there for grades.
Exactly.
Right? That's where we get our transfers, right? So that's the thing, man. And then we have kids who are successful. Wake Forest right now got Kobe Turner. He's their defensive lineman, and he's doing very well. He's expected to be drafted in the first few rounds. He was a monster for us. And we're not mad at him. He came and got his degree, and then he transferred over to Wake Forest. But, I think that would just always be a struggle for us, Kirk, just because I don't know academically if we would be able to keep up with schools now in the transfer portal.
Right. Okay. All right.
If we moved up. So that's just my thing. I think at the end of the day, win where you are. Like, I think North Dakota State did a good example of that. Like, right, they were Division II, and all they did was win. They took their time. They finally moved up to FCS, and they've won 7 out of the last 9 national championships.
Yeah.
It is wild when you go out there. We played them at home, by far the most ruckus environment I have ever been in.
Yeah.
People don't believe me. People don't believe me. I didn't believe it until I went. It's 20-something thousand people or whatever, 28,000 people. It's not a dome, so it's not curved. It's just flat. And which they don't they don't even make anything like that. It gets so loud, so incredibly loud. I remember, Bob, we're sitting like we could touch arms, and we have mics and headphones could not hear each other.
Wow, man.
And then
That's awesome.
could not hear. And so we went out there with a passing offense, thought we were ready. And man, it was like, dude, our tackles, they're never going to hear the quarterback. So they have to be looking down like this. So they go get two good defensive tackles. It's a wrap. You know what I mean?
Right.
To this, it's like they're on your quarterback. So you have to run downhill. So I don't know how I got off on that, but that environment was right. And I just think at the end of the day, you got to win where you are. But yes, I will advise, if you have a bucket list and you want to see some good FCS football, Montana's a good one. And North Dakota State, man. I never saw anything like that, man. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah. And what people don't understand is you talked about, like, here how it's so much talent that you're going to be rich at the not just FBS but FCS and Power 5 and the Group 5, but out there they don't even have FBS programs. Like when you're in North Dakota, that's the highest level of football, and so the best athletes are going there,
right? Yeah. When we play Maine, when we play Rhode Island, we play New Hampshire at one point went to the playoffs 13, 14 years straight. Nobody's stealing their talent. It's a small state, but nobody's stealing their talent. In North Dakota State, so they have all their in-state talent, but then they start winning, they can bring people out. I always say, how do you recruit out here? And they're like, oh, we just bring them in the spring. Bring the kids out in the spring. And then, like I said, and maybe you bring them back to catch one game and they see the game. Look, man, I was sold when I saw that there's like only 3 or 4 places in America have registered an earthquake during a game.
Seismic,
Wow.
Yeah. Like North Dakota State is one of them. It's wild. It was like 18 below. We got there and it was like 25,000 people tailgating. It was 18 below. I had never seen anything like that in my life.
Yeah. Game day was just there. They were up in Montana, right?
They were in Montana, and they've been in North Dakota State twice.
Right.
Yeah. So and
they came to JMU. They came to JMU. And
they came to JMU.
We beat them. We beat them. That was my first or second year doing the radio. Great experience.
Oh wow. Okay. And in fact, North Dakota State, didn't they get the quarterback from Virginia Tech, Quincy
Patterson?
Quincy Patterson.
He's from Chicago.
Yeah.
Good player.
From Chicago.
You got Trey Logan and you got Carson Wentz. They're quarterbacks have been drafted in the first round. So, I mean, again, FCS, the talent is there,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, so those guys are ballers. So, look, all right, we've talked football. Let's get our audience to know a little bit more about Chris Anderson outside of work and University of Richmond or local high school sports. What do you like to do in your downtime? Are you into movies? Because my wife and I now are. But are you into movies? Do you like to watch Netflix at home, or you stream anything? What does Chris Anderson like to do?
Man, that's a good question. I'm all over the place right now. I'm a stand-up comedy guy, right? And I have a lot of time in the car, so I'm Netflix. I don't want to watch a movie or whatever because I cover most of the state of Virginia. So I'm a stand-up comedy guy. You know what I mean? Like right now, Netflix has Deion Cole's new one. And you got Lil Rel and you know what I mean? Anything, any Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, Kevin Hart, from the big to the small to the guys you never heard of. That's my thing. I'm not funny, but I enjoy a good comic. Okay.
Bro, I've been doing the same thing because Netflix has all these comics. And what I like about really good comics, like Bill Burr, I'm going back and watching his old stuff. And
Bill Burr's my guy.
Yo, this dude is off the chain.
Yeah, Bill Burr's my guy.
I love him, man. He's so good.
Yeah. So Kirk, our channel, we share the same YouTube for Kirk and Byrd Show. Kirk and I, so you can probably see some of the shows I watch on our YouTube, and I'm watching all these Bill Burr things on YouTube all the time. That good stuff. All right, now here's another one for you.
Okay.
You've been around a lot of great athletes, people in industry. Richmond had, and just the whole RVA. You were there for a number of years. Now you're in the 757. Is there anybody in Chris Anderson's phone that you can hit up and text, and they'll hit you back that we might find interesting? It doesn't mean we all know them, but is there anybody but it's just your boy or somebody you feel like you can talk to?
Man, I gave away some of them earlier.
But that's fine. No, that's fine. So
Joe
Mike
Douglas.
London will be.
I played with Joe Douglas. He's the GM with the Jets right now.
Yeah.
Todd McShay actually came in to U of R with us. That was funny. Tank McShay. He came in. He was a walk-on, and he used to do. He was a scout quarterback, and at the time I was a defensive back, but for whatever reason I was playing running back on scout. And man, he used to get us destroyed. Okay. He used to get us killed. And then I don't know what it was. He got hurt or something. And they said, look, I mean, it was an opportunity to make some money or whatever, just some type of scholarship there. Hey, why don't you just do the camera crew? Do the camera crew till you get better. And then, man, he would just be behind the camera every practice and he would just be talking. You know, he'd be talking. And then we didn't know until we'd be watching film later and you would hear his voice. Yeah. Just going over the plays and talking about, and he'd be breaking down players, and I remember we would get pissed. You know what I mean? And then we graduated, and he went into that. He started his own business, like Rivals or whatever. He started his own business, and ESPN came to him and wanted to buy his company. He said, "Look, rather than give me whatever it was, I don't know, let's say $2 million or whatever." Give me. I think they were going to offer him $1 million for his company. He said, "Look, give me $500,000, but take me." And he did that, and here he is. He makes millions a year. He does this, so that's the guy, a good guy I can call right now. My roommate is a director of scouting, so he'll be a GM. He'll be a GM within the next decade in the NFL. So, and he came up the ranks. We talked about scouting. He was a regional scout at the very bottom, has worked his way all the way up. So, I think I know football until I talk to that dude. You know what I'm saying? Right.
Well. I'll share somebody I have in my phone. I have Chris Anderson in my phone, and I can text him and he'll hit me back.
hey, I got you. I'm here for it. I want to see you in the spring, though. You know,
I got your number now too, Chris.
Oh yeah. Hey, so let me ask you this. You know, I know you're older, but maybe if you in your travels back to school, have you ever met Lil Dicky, David Byrd?
I have not, man. When I saw him, I was like, "Oh, this dude is all right." Okay, and then I was like, "Oh, he went to Richmond."
Went to Richmond, yeah.
Okay. No, I have never met him. I haven't come around.
Have you watched his show?
I've never watched his show. I heard his show is good, and I always say I want to watch it. It looks funny because he's just a funny dude. I love his music, man. I just love his music.
So I heard people talking about the show, and I was like, I'll get to it. And I think I saw it. I can tell my kids that watched it. You gotta watch. It's called Dave. Mm-hmm. Yo, that joint is good.
Dave,
so just watch the whole. Dave, yeah.
Oh yeah, man, that thing is crazy.
That is
yeah. Okay, I'm gonna start tonight. Maybe it's the holidays. Come on,
bro. If you will, I'm telling you, once you start, you will stream. You will binge that joint, and he's a U of R alum. So yeah, check it out, man. He can flow, but his show is good.
I'll see if I can get him back to a game.
Yeah.
Come through.
Yep.
Get him some.
All right. So this is our last question. We're gonna wrap this up. This has been fun. Look, we're gonna have to make you a regular, bro, because I knew you were gonna be good. You know, I knew you was gonna be solid, but darn.
Look, man. Look, this is how I got the job, man. This is how I got the job.
Yeah.
I gotta start.
It's all about, man.
You ain't gotta like it.
In fact, we don't even pay, but we're just good.
Right.
If Kirk wasn't here, I would probably haze you a little bit, but you know. But you all good.
I was studying that more than the football notes before we got on here. Just
I was gonna say, who are my line brothers?
I was ready, man. I was ready.
What was my number?
What's your question?
So last one, bro. And we said I mentioned it before we started the show. $5 billion. You have just been gifted $5. So after all taxes, all fees, whatever you got $5 billion. What would you do with that, man?
I know a portion would be invested into the Kirk and Byrd podcast. Because
that's always the right.
It just needs to be out here, okay?
First thing you need to buy is the plane.
Now, don't ask me what portion.
A private jet.
I don't, bro. If it's 1%, I'm retired. I'm good. Kirk, I did not prep.
$50 million, man. I'll take it.
Kirk, I did not prep this young man.
I didn't say any percentages. I just said, look, your voice needs to be heard. Your voice needs to be heard.
He's in sales, man. Selling the doctors in the operating room, he's good.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't know, man. I've got some entrepreneurial thoughts. I would think about that, and other than that, man, the basics take care of the folks, and I don't know. There's some programs that I'd want to give to, like Highland Springs, LC Byrd. There'd be some programs I'd like to put into a little bit.
So, Chris, here's what you're doing. You're talking like an adult. We want the child in you. So I always tell people, it's about you, but I always tell people I'm going to give away $4.5 billion in a foundation, because that is societal change of money. But with the 500, what do you want to do? I mean, you're going to have multiple houses. I mean, it's $500 million. And if you're giving away,
no, he's got $5 billion. He ain't giving 4.5. I'm not going to let him.
You got a chance.
I'm sorry, I was lost.
Are you a car guy? Are you a car guy?
You going to give away 4.5. These brothers, we're not doing that.
That's okay. What I'm saying, though, Chris, is what are your trinkets? Everybody's got things they want to buy. So, are you a car guy? You want a plane?
Man, right now I'm a travel guy.
Okay.
I mean, that would be my thing, man. There's places I want to go all around the world. So that would be my thing, man. I'm traveling. I would make sure I get back in time to do the U of R games. And then, I'm going back out of the country by Sunday. So that would be my goal, man. Just kind of like I want to see every continent, and then even within the states, man. Sometimes I think we take for granted like the United States. There's a lot of places I want to go in the states, and then for me, this sounds weird, but there's some like bowl games, man. I wouldn't mind just doing a bowl game tour. For a few years and just going to all the bowl games. And that's just me. I love ball like that. I love football like that. And just checking out, all the different bowl games, championships, doing all of that, basketball, watching like, the Maui Classic. I mean, I'll probably just burn my money just going to see sports.
That's it. Yeah. Kirk has said, and Kirk, you can say it, but like I'd be at every Super Bowl, every Final Four,
every World Series, have a sweet. If you got $5 billion, man, you got a suite at Yankee Stadium. You can have a suite at the Lakers. The best programs, North Carolina, Duke. I mean, I could burn some money there. And again, traveling, 6'2", 200 plus. I'm too big to travel, coach. And by the way, getting in first class is not much better. You're still hurting on and off.
So
I wouldn't know, Kirk. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. I got to talk to my wife about that. She's first class all day. I just pay the bills.
You get the Richmond Stadium named after you.
Definitely what I would do is I would donate money to VCU, and I'm going to have several buildings with my name on them. All right. Right now, I just got the brick out in Schaefer Court. It's an alumni. And the other thing, somewhere. I got $5 billion. I would buy the Commanders. Dan Snyder got to let it go. I would be the majority owner. I got $5 billion, bro. I'll use 4 of it, and then I'll bring in Shaq and a couple of people, and I'm gonna own the Commanders or something like that, or even basketball. Because you can buy a
basketball for much cheaper. Yeah,
you can get basketball. The Suns went for like $2 billion.
First of all, I just want to thank you guys, because this is something like, this is the only reason I play the lottery. When it gets up above $1 billion, I'm not playing it to win.
I'm playing
it because for the next couple hours, I can do this with my boys, with my wife, with my, you know what I mean? I get that little piece of joy.
Let's make a bet.
The next day comes in, I got to sell some devices.
If any of us wins over $1 billion, we're going to break the others off a little something. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, so thank you so much, man. This has been fun. And look, y'all, just like when John joined the show, you can't go wrong with an alpha man, especially though a Theta Rho brother. Man, that's my dog right there. Hey, look, thank you for doing the show. Good luck to Highland Springs and to the University of Richmond. I was looking at the brackets. You guys are on the other side from William and Mary, right?
Right. So if we win, we get it done and we win, we're headed out to California and play Sacramento State. In California. I mean, that's a tough trip. We talked about, we talked about the HBCUs going to, man, that's a tough trip. Can you imagine if they got to get a plane and then go and then, you got to get there a couple of days early. It's tough, man.
It's tough. So will you go to all those?
Yeah. Absolutely. I go to every game.
Oh,
that's great. So I'm pulling for University of Richmond and William and Mary to be in the the championship game, and whoever wins, we all
We'll break that tie. We'll break
Yeah.
that tie.
Yeah.
64 and 5. I'd love to break that tie in the national championship.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice. Kirk, any closing thoughts?
Nah, we'd love to have you back on. If you win a national championship, let's have you on. If you don't, let's still have you on. And are you doing hoops? You doing any hoops?
No, man. Bob handles hoops, and my guy Greg Beckwith. He's a Hall of Famer, University of Richmond.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think he was on the squad with that first 15 seed to be the 2 seed.
Yeah.
That was 84 or 85. Dick Tarrant. They beat Syracuse. I remember that.
Right. They beat it. So I think he was on that squad. So that's my guy. He works with Bob there. I just basketball I love because I just call and I get great tickets. So you guys come up in the area, let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. Richmond's a great hoop school. Yeah.
Chris, can you get me football tickets?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You have my number. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Everybody gonna be texting. You have my number. Call me.
Yeah. So I'm gonna use that hookup I got. I'm gonna check out the game next year for sure.
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right, bro.
Thanks,
so look,
fellas, man. Y'all have a good one.
This has been Kirk, my co-host, along with my frat brother, Chris Anderson, the baller. This has been the Kirk and Byrd Show. We are out.